My name is Ivy Park, and this is the story of how I discovered that sometimes the cruelest truths are served alongside Christmas dinner. What I thought would be a heartwarming homecoming turned into the moment I finally understood my place in my own family. Coming home for Christmas, my mother, Emily Park, greeted me with a warm smile as she set a table full of leftovers before me. The turkey skeleton sat prominently on the platter, its bones piled higher than the remaining scraps of meat. This was the very same Mom's loving Christmas feast that my younger brother Marcus had been bragging about on Instagram at noon, complete with 9 perfectly arranged photos and the caption, "Merry Christmas." My heart sank as I felt something peculiar under the kitchen tablecloth. Running my fingers along the edge, I discovered the scalding rim of another table hidden beneath. With one swift motion, I pulled away the covering to reveal 8 steaming hot dishes underneath. The elaborate Christmas feast I had hoped for did exist after all. It simply was not meant for me. I was the unwelcome guest who did not deserve a proper meal. "You made it home. You must be exhausted from that long flight. Come now, wash your hands and let us eat," my mother Emily called out as she emerged from the kitchen, wearing her favorite floral apron with that same gentle smile. She gestured toward the dining table where several plates awaited me. A platter of roasted salmon reduced to its skeleton, the fish head staring at me with hollow, empty sockets. A serving of sautéed broccoli that had collapsed into the bottom of the dish, swimming in a layer of congealed oil, and a plate of honey-glazed shrimp, their shells piled in one corner like a small mountain, while the few remaining pieces floated in thick, solidified sauce. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Share your advice below and subscribe to see how my story continues. And then, I made a decision that changed everything. My knuckles turned white as I gripped the handle of my suitcase. 6 hours on the airplane, 2 hours on the subway. I had traveled all the way from Manhattan to this small Connecticut town, my entire body weary from the journey. Before walking through that front door, I had been imagining a family gathered around a steaming Christmas feast, filled with laughter and conversation. Instead, reality had delivered a crushing blow. "Mom, this is what we are having for Christmas dinner?" I asked, my voice tight with disbelief. The smile on her face froze for just a moment. "Well, this is what your brother Marcus had for lunch, is it not? There was quite a bit left over, and it seemed such a waste to throw it away, so I warmed it up for you." Her tone was as casual as if she were commenting on pleasant weather. "He gets a feast for lunch and I get leftovers for dinner." I set down my suitcase and walked step by step toward the table, staring at that plate of shrimp. At exactly 12:30 that afternoon, Marcus had posted those Instagram photos with the caption about Mom's loving meal. One of those pictures featured this very plate, but in the photo the platter had been overflowing with perfectly roasted shrimp and golden glaze. Now, only the remnants remained. My mother's expression completely changed, irritation flashing across her features. "Ivy, what kind of way is that to speak? What do you mean you are eating leftovers? These are all perfectly good dishes, are they not? Your brother is still growing and needs proper nutrition. What is wrong with him eating a little extra at lunch? You are a grown woman. And what about me? Am I not your daughter? I traveled all this way from Manhattan, and I cannot even get a warm meal." My voice began to tremble. "Oh, for heaven's sake, how can you be so thoughtless?" My mother raised her voice, filling her words with reproach. "We had no idea what time you would arrive, and cold food simply does not taste good when reheated. Besides, your brother had plans to go to the shopping center with friends tonight, so he will not be home for dinner. It is just the 2 of us older folks, and we cannot eat very much anyway. Reheating the leftovers works out perfectly, does it not? We believe in being frugal and not wasteful." Every single word felt like a knife cutting through my heart. My father, Robert Park, remained completely detached throughout this entire exchange. He was sunk deep into his recliner, eyes glued to the Christmas special playing on television, as if that programming held 10,000 times more importance than his own daughter's feelings. From his perspective, was nothing more than background noise interfering with his viewing pleasure. I took a deep breath, forcing down the sob that was building in my throat. "I need to use the restroom," I announced. I turned away, but instead of heading to my bedroom, I walked directly toward the kitchen. My mother immediately followed behind me, continuing her complaints under her breath. Such a grown woman throwing a tantrum over food. The older you get, the more childish you become. After spending a few years in Manhattan, your heart has grown wild and selfish. You have no consideration for your parents whatsoever. I paid no attention to her words. The kitchen had been cleaned thoroughly, with empty stovetops showing no signs of recent cooking. However, one corner looked distinctly out of place. The sideboard where we usually kept miscellaneous items was covered by an enormous checkered tablecloth, bulging with mysterious shapes underneath. That particular tablecloth only came out during Thanksgiving when we had company over. I walked toward it, my heart pounding rapidly. "What do you think you are doing?" my mother shrieked when she realized my intention, reaching out to try to stop me. She was too late. I yanked away the tablecloth in one swift motion. A rich aroma of freshly cooked food mixed with steam hit me immediately. Hidden beneath the covering was a folding table that revealed an entirely different world. Herb roasted chicken breast, releasing the fragrance of fresh rosemary. Honey-glazed carrots glistening with a perfect glaze. Garlic roasted scallops topped with golden breadcrumbs. And a pot of steaming hot lobster bisque, its creamy richness filling the air with the scent of fresh seafood. 8 complete dishes, all freshly prepared and still radiating heat. This was the real Christmas feast. Meanwhile, I had been relegated to the dining room to consume table scraps like an unwanted visitor. That Reddit post I had seen on the airplane, about the guest who was served leftovers. That person was me. My entire body went cold. My mother's face turned ashen white as paper. What do you think you are doing? Who gave you permission to go through our things?" She screamed in a shrill voice, her embarrassment turning to rage. She rushed forward frantically, attempting to replace the tablecloth. I held tightly to one corner of the fabric. "Mom, what is this?" I asked, pointing to the table full of food, speaking each word distinctly. This is for your brother to eat tomorrow. He is bringing his girlfriend home for Christmas dinner tomorrow." She avoided my eyes, grasping for an excuse. I laughed, nearly to the point of tears. "For tomorrow, Mom? Do you think I am 3 years old? Look at this chicken breast fresh from the oven. This lobster bisque is still boiling hot. Are you telling me you prepared all these dishes a full day in advance? Tomorrow you will reheat everything for your future daughter-in-law. Do you think Marcus's girlfriend deserves nothing but reheated food?" Each of my questions left her speechless. My father, who had been watching television in the living room, finally could not remain seated. He walked over with a stern expression, his eyebrows knitted into a deep frown. "It is Christmas, and you want the neighbors to see us as a laughingstock." He looked at the food on the table, then at me, speaking in a tone that brooked no argument. "Ivy, I can see that you have learned all the bad habits from your time in the big city. Is there anything wrong with what your mother has done? Everything she does is for the sake of this family. For the sake of this family." I repeated those words, finding them impossibly ironic. For the sake of this family means treating me like a thief. For the sake of this family means feeding me leftovers while hiding the good food for my brother. What do you mean leftovers? Those are dishes your brother ate from, are they not? We are all family here. Why are you making such distinctions between us? My father's words completely shattered the last remnants of hope in my heart. So in their minds, it was perfectly natural for me to eat whatever my brother left behind. I was not truly part of this family, just some disposable appendage that could be dealt with however they saw fit. Fine. What a beautiful sentiment about not making distinctions. I nodded, releasing my grip on the tablecloth. My mother immediately scrambled to cover the table back up with shaking hands. I ignored them both and returned to the living room. Under their suspicious gazes, I snapped open my suitcase with a loud click. My mother thought I was packing to leave and a flash of panic crossed her face, though she quickly composed herself. Perhaps she believed I was simply having another tantrum that would pass, and that I would eventually swallow my hurt feelings like I had countless times before. Instead, I pulled out the Christmas gifts I had brought for them. For my father, a new heated massage pillow that had cost me nearly $300. For my mother, a high-end skincare set that I had waited in line for 2 hours at Sephora to purchase, a limited Christmas edition gift box worth $500. For my brother, a pair of the latest Jordan sneakers he had been wanting for months, which cost me half of my monthly salary. I arranged these items one by one on the coffee table. My father's eyes lit up, clearly interested in that massage pillow. My mother stared intently at the skincare set, her lips moving as if she wanted to say something but could not find the words. "What are you doing?" my father asked, his tone softening slightly. I did not answer. Instead, I picked up the sneakers I had bought for Marcus and walked over to the garbage can in the corner of the living room. I opened my hand and dropped them straight into the trash. "Have you lost your mind?" Rushing toward the garbage can to retrieve the shoes. I extended my arm to block her path. "Do not touch them," I said coldly. "Since we are all family and make no distinctions between each other, if I choose to throw away something I purchased with my own money, that has nothing to do with you, does it?" Next, I picked up the expensive skincare set. My mother's breathing stopped completely. "Ivy, that costs several $100s. Do not do anything foolish." "You wasteful girl." She watched as I methodically removed each bottle and jar from the elegant packaging, then opened every cap and poured the essence, creams, and eye treatments into the garbage can. The rich fragrance filled the living room, mixing strangely with the sour smell of the leftover food. My mother's face transformed from pale white to the color of liver, and she tried to rush forward to stop me while my father held her back from behind. "What a sin, this is such a terrible waste," she wailed, beating her chest. Finally, there was the massage pillow. My father's expression grew serious as well. "Ivy, let us talk about this reasonably. There is no need to throw things away. That all represents money," he pleaded. "I am not throwing it away," I replied. I picked up the kitchen scissors from the coffee table and positioned them over the power cord of the massage pillow. With a sharp snap, the cord was severed. A brand new appliance had instantly become worthless junk. I dropped the scissors onto the coffee table with a loud clang. "There, now we truly make no distinctions between each other." I brushed off my hands and looked at my stunned parents, feeling completely empty inside. "You ungrateful daughter, I should beat you senseless today." My father Robert exploded completely, breaking free from my mother's grasp and raising his hand toward my face. I did not try to dodge. The slap came whistling toward me but stopped just inches from my cheek. Not because he had a change of heart, but because Marcus had returned home. "Dad, Mom, it is Christmas. What are you two fighting about?" Marcus pushed through the door, looking thoroughly annoyed. He had just returned from the shopping center with his friends and was carrying several shopping bags. When he saw the chaos in the living room, he froze completely. "Sis, you are home." His gaze swept over me, then noticed the shoebox and empty bottles in the garbage can, finally settling on the massage pillow with its severed cord. "What the hell, my shoes, Ivy, are you completely insane?" Marcus exploded instantly, rushing to the garbage can and pulling out the pristine sneakers. Seeing that the shoes were unharmed, he relaxed slightly, but his fury intensified as he pointed an accusing finger at me. "What gives you the right to throw away my things? You think spending a few measly dollars makes you special? Let me tell you something. If you dare to throw away these shoes today, tomorrow you better buy me an even more expensive pair. Otherwise, you are no sister of mine." His tone suggested that my sacrifices for him were simply the natural order of things. My mother immediately found her champion, rushing to Marcus in tears. "Son, thank goodness you are home. Look what your sister has done. She has lost her mind. She wants to destroy this entire family." She recounted what had happened, adding her own embellishments while carefully omitting the core facts about the hidden food and leftovers. In her version of events, I became a madwoman who had returned home only to cause trouble, complaining about the food, and then destructively throwing a tantrum. After hearing her story, Marcus looked at me with complete disdain. "You really think you are something special now, do you not? After a few years in Manhattan, you cannot even stomach the food at home anymore. You make some pathetic salary each month. What is so impressive about that? Do not forget that Mom and Dad worked themselves to the bone to pay for your college education. This is how you repay them." My father joined in the chorus. "Exactly. We raised you all these years, put you through university, and this is how you treat your elders and your only brother. You ungrateful child." The three of them stood united against me. I felt like an outsider who had intruded upon their happy life. I looked at their three indignant faces and suddenly found the situation absurdly funny. "The college tuition you mentioned, did I not pay that myself through student loans, working in restaurants during every break, waiting tables and washing dishes, paying back every single dollar? Marcus, for your community college that costs over $20,000 a year, who has been paying that? When you buy the latest iPhone, when you purchase that high-end gaming computer, when you go on spring break trips with your friends, whose money funds all of that? Mom, when you had surgery for uterine fibroids last year and needed $50,000, who transferred that money to your account immediately? Dad, 2 years ago when you lost everything in the stock market and secretly used my credit card to pay off $30,000 in debt. Have you forgotten that as well?" With every point I made, their faces grew more uncomfortable. For years, I had been like a blindfolded donkey, continuously milked for value while pulling this family forward. Each month, I faithfully sent $5,000 of my $8,000 after-tax salary back home. I thought this was my responsibility and contribution to the family. Now I finally understood it was simply the foundation of their confidence in exploiting me. Marcus was left speechless by my questions, but he stiffened his neck in defiance. "So what? You are the older sister, I am the younger brother. Is it not natural for you to contribute more money?" I nodded, then in front of their bewildered faces I turned and walked back to the kitchen. Under their astonished gazes I pulled open that folding table displaying the hidden feast. I took a clean bowl and utensils, served myself a portion of the steaming lobster bisque, then picked up the plate of perfectly glazed honey-roasted carrots and walked step by step back to the living room. "What are you doing?" My mother let out an ear-piercing shriek. I ignored her completely. I walked to the garbage can and tilted my wrist. With a splash, the honey-roasted carrots and their sauce poured entirely into the trash, covering those pristine sneakers. Marcus's eyes immediately turned red with rage. Ivy. Those honey-roasted carrots were his absolute favorite dish. "Do not worry, I am not finished." I glanced at him and returned to the kitchen once more. This time, I brought out the herb-roasted chicken breast. The meat was tender and fragrant, still releasing aromatic steam. This was my father's favorite dish. I walked directly in front of him and, under his incredulous, wide-eyed stare, hurled the entire plate including the ceramic dish into the garbage can. The collision of porcelain against the metal bin created a dull thud. No distinctions between family members, is that not right? I smiled at the three of them. I earned the money and bought the groceries. If I choose not to eat something and throw it away, that is perfectly reasonable. My mother collapsed onto the floor, pointing at me with trembling lips, unable to speak a single word. My father's body shook violently. Marcus roared like an enraged bull and charged toward me. I am going to destroy you today. His fist never connected with me. I sidestepped his attack, and his momentum carried him headfirst into the wall with a dull thud. Enough! My father shouted, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Marcus stopped his assault, clutching his forehead and glaring at me with heaving chest. Stop this fighting. What kind of spectacle is this? My father rubbed his temples and for the first time did not immediately blame me. Ivy, what exactly do you want? He was finally afraid. Afraid that I would truly create chaos and tear this family apart. I looked at him and spoke with complete calm. I do not want anything. I simply want to eat one peaceful, warm meal that is not someone else's leftovers. My request was so simple, yet to their ears it sounded unbearably harsh. Fine, fine, fine. You want to eat? I will let you eat. My mother struggled to her feet, roughly wiping away tears, and rushed into the kitchen like a madwoman. She brought out the remaining dishes one by one, slamming them heavily onto the dining table. The plates crashed against the surface with loud banging sounds. Eat. Go ahead and eat. I will give you everything. Are you satisfied now, Your Highness? Her voice was shrill and her eyes filled with venom. I looked at the remaining dishes on the table, garlic roasted scallops, black pepper steak, and that pot of lobster bisque. Are you not going to eat as well? I asked. We do not deserve to, Marcus spoke sarcastically from the side. We ate the leftovers so we could save all the good food for you, the grand lady visiting from Manhattan. Are you happy now? I said nothing more. I pulled out a chair, sat down, picked up my knife and fork, and began to eat. I ate slowly and quietly. The scallops were fresh. The breadcrumbs had absorbed the garlic and butter flavors perfectly, creating a delightfully crispy texture. The lobster bisque was rich, with cream and seafood flavors filling my entire mouth. This was the meal I had earned with my own hard work and money. It was also the respect I had won by literally overturning their table. My father, mother, and Marcus stood at a distance, watching me with 3 pairs of poisonous eyes filled with anger, resentment, hatred, and just a touch of fear. I ignored their stares completely. In that spacious living room, the only sounds were the gentle scraping of my utensils against the plate and Christmas carols playing on the television. These 2 sounds wove together to create something utterly surreal. I took more than 30 minutes to finish that meal. When I finally set down my knife and fork, I had consumed the majority of the food on the table. I stood up and even let out a small burp. I am finished eating, I announced to them coldly. If you are done, then get out of here and go to your room. Stop being an eyesore. Marcus hissed through clenched teeth. Very well, I nodded and walked toward my bedroom. My room was located at a far north end of the house. Dark and damp, never receiving any sunlight. Marcus's room, by contrast, was the largest and most sun-filled space in the house. I had never complained about this arrangement before. Now I realized that every aspect of this house reflected inequality. The room was filled with random junk. My bed had been flipped up against the wall, and the space underneath was stuffed with quilts and someone's old clothing. On my desk sat a large glass jar filled with something pickling, its opening seeping unpleasant acidic odors. This space resembled a storage closet more than a young woman's bedroom. Not a single person had bothered to tell me about this condition in advance, and no one had thought to help clean it up. I said nothing and began organizing quietly. I moved out the items that did not belong to me one by one, struggled to lower the bed frame back into position, and used a damp cloth to wipe away the dust and stains from my desk. My mother stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, watching coldly. "What is wrong now? Are you going to complain about the room too? You should be grateful to have somewhere to sleep. What more do you expect?" I paid no attention to her and continued with my cleaning. After I finally made the bed and put on the clean sheets and blankets I had brought from Manhattan, she spoke again with that same tone of condescending generosity. "Ivy, your brother is bringing his girlfriend home in a few days, and we do not have enough rooms in the house. Perhaps you could stay at a hotel for a while." Finally, she revealed her true purpose. They had not been unaware that I was coming home today. They simply did not want me there. My presence took up space, was an eyesore, and disrupted their life as a family of 3. I stopped arranging my blanket and turned to look at her. "Mom, during Christmas vacation, how much does the worst hotel in our town cost per night? How much could it possibly cost?" She immediately protested with a shrill voice. "You earn so much money each month. Are you really going to be petty about such a small amount?" "You are right. I am not concerned about the money," I nodded. "But why should I pay to stay in a hotel? This is my home, this is my room." I tapped the small space beneath my feet with the toe of my shoe. "If your precious son wants to bring his girlfriend home, he can book them a hotel room. He is a grown man. Does he not have hands and feet? Does he not have money? Your brother has no money, he is still in school." My mother immediately cried out. "Then he should not be dating or trying to impress girlfriends by bringing them home. That is embarrassing," I said coldly. "How can you talk about your brother that way? Do you have any sense of what it means to be an older sister?" My mother trembled with rage. "This is exactly who I am." I sat down in a chair and looked at her calmly. "Mom, let me say this one more time. This is my room, and I will not be moving out. If you find the situation inconvenient, you are welcome to stay in a hotel yourselves." "This is outrageous, absolutely outrageous." My mother pointed at me, so angry she could not form words, then turned and stomped away. Tonight, this was far from over. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, my father appeared in my doorway with a dark expression. He was holding my phone, his face grim enough to drip water. "Ivy, you cancelled the automatic transfer to the family account." He must have gone through my phone while I was cleaning my room. "Yes, I cancelled it," I admitted directly. "Because you all seem to be doing quite well without my money. You live such a prosperous life that you can prepare 8 elaborate dishes for a single meal. My small contribution probably is not much use anyway." My words carried sharp barbs that my father certainly understood. His face instantly turned the color of liver. "Not threatening, informing you." I stood up, took my phone back from his hands, and deleted the banking app right in front of him. "Starting this month, I will not send another penny to this family. Marcus's tuition and living expenses, your daily costs, utilities and gas bills, you can all figure out for yourselves, you." My father raised his hand again, but it hung in the air for a long time before falling weakly to his side. Beating me would not solve anything. Money was the lifeline of this family. "Ivy, you cannot do this." His tone finally softened, even carrying a hint of pleading. "Your brother is about to graduate and find work. This is exactly when he needs money most. If you cut off funding now, you are destroying his future. Dad, he is 21 years old, a fully capable adult. He can get a job and earn money himself, just like I did back then. That is completely different." My father finally spoke the words he had been hiding in his heart. "He is a boy who will carry on the Park family name. You are just a girl who will get married someday and become part of someone else's family." Why do you need so much money? In the end, it will all benefit strangers anyway. Marriage, I laughed. Do not worry. I will never get married or have children in this lifetime. I will spend every dollar I earn clearly and deliberately on myself. I will buy a big house, a nice car, and travel internationally twice each year. I will live better than any of you. As for all of you and your precious son, you can stay in this broken home with your ridiculous favoritism and see how that works out. My words cut like knives straight into his heart. His body swayed violently, and he had to grab the doorframe to remain standing. You ungrateful daughter, you madwoman," he muttered to himself with empty eyes. I stopped looking at him and began repacking the things I had just unpacked. I placed my clothes and all my personal belongings back into my suitcase, item by item. "What are you doing now?" my father asked warily, leaving. I said only one word. I could not bear to spend another minute in this so-called home. I zipped up my suitcase with a sharp click and stood up. My mother and Marcus had also heard the commotion and rushed over, blocking the doorway. "You want to leave? It will not be that easy." Marcus stood in my path with a fierce expression. "You need to return our family's money first." "Your family's money?" I looked at him as if he were a joke. "That is right. All the money you have earned over the years came from our family's investment in your college education. You should hand over all your money to be managed by Mum." Marcus spoke with righteous conviction. My mother nodded repeatedly beside him. "Exactly. Your brother is absolutely correct. Hand over your bank cards. You are not leaving this house otherwise." They showed their ugliest faces. They did not want me as a person. They wanted my money. Looking at these three so-called relatives in front of me, I felt nothing but disgust and alienation. "All right then." To their surprise, I actually nodded and took out a bank card from my wallet. This card contains $100,000. Money I have saved over the years to make a down payment on property in Manhattan. The password is Marcus's birthday. I handed over the card. Marcus's eyes exploded with greedy light as he snatched it away. My mother also showed a satisfied smile. My father frowned, seeming to sense something was wrong, but ultimately remained silent. "Now, may I leave?" I asked. "Go ahead, get out of here, and do not come back." Marcus waved dismissively. He was already eager to verify the account balance. I pulled my suitcase and squeezed through the narrow gap between the three of them. No one blocked my path. No one tried to make me stay. As I bent down to put on my shoes at the front door, I turned back for one final look at them. The three of them had their heads together, studying that bank card with joy on their faces. Not one of them was looking at me. I smiled softly. "Dad, Mom, Marcus." I spoke, my voice not loud, but clear enough for them to hear in the quiet living room. They looked up at me with puzzled expressions. I forgot to mention one thing. I reported that card stolen yesterday. With that, I opened the door and walked out without looking back. Behind me, furious roars and curses erupted immediately. The cold winter night wind cut across my face like a knife. Yet I felt incredibly liberated. Goodbye to my family. I dragged my suitcase alone through the empty small town streets in the early morning hours. My phone buzzed frantically in my pocket with calls from my parents and Marcus. I answered none of them. I pulled out my phone and blocked all three of their numbers, along with all our so-called relatives. The world instantly became peaceful. I found a 24-hour convenience store, bought a hot coffee, and sat by the window warming my frozen hands. Looking at the dim streetlights outside, I felt more relaxed than ever before. Without that shackle called family, I experienced unprecedented freedom. I sat in that convenience store until dawn, then used my phone to book the earliest train back to New York. When my feet touched Manhattan soil again, My life would truly begin anew. Returning to my small apartment in Manhattan, the first thing I did was turn off my phone, close the curtains, and sleep deeply. When I woke up, it was already noon the next day. Sunlight streamed through gaps in the curtains, casting patches of light on the floor. I turned on my phone to find dozens of missed calls and a pile of blocked text messages and voicemails. Without exception, they were all from people trying to mediate. "Jennifer, my aunt, how could you treat your parents this way? They are worried sick. Please call them to let them know you are safe. Uncle Mike, Ivy, you are being so unreasonable. Your father's blood pressure spiked from stress and he is in the hospital. Do you have no conscience? My cousin Sarah, your brother took that card to the bank to check it. There was no money and it was frozen. You were just playing games with them, were you not? You are all family. Why does it have to be this way? Why does it have to be this way?" Reading these messages that twisted the truth and only urged me to be magnanimous, I found them laughable. With his habit of drinking 2 cans of beer daily, a little stress from me sent him to the hospital. This was nothing more than another guilt trip designed to force me back and make me hand over money. I did not reply to anyone. I went directly to Verizon to get a new phone number and left all the family group chats. Then I used my new number to re-register on social media, adding only a few real friends, and posted an update. New life, new beginning. The photo showed a bright, spacious, and clean apartment. This picture was taken with a portion of that reported stolen $100,000 I had used to rent a comfortable 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. I wanted them to see through various channels that I was doing well, even better than before. Without these blood-sucking parasites, my life would only improve. After finishing all this, I put down my phone and cheerfully prepared myself a lunch. In the afternoon, I met with a real estate agent to start looking at properties. I decided to use the remaining money to make a down payment on my own little home in New York. A home that truly belonged to me. A home where no one would serve me leftovers or treat me like an outsider. The following days were exceptionally fulfilling. Work, house hunting, working out, and meeting friends. I invested all the time and energy I had previously spent on that. Family into myself. I discovered that living for myself was incredibly wonderful. A month later, I settled on a small unit in Brooklyn. Though not large, it had everything I needed, including a south-facing balcony I had always dreamed of. When I signed the purchase contract, my hand trembled slightly as I held the pen. From this day forward, I, Ivy Park, owned property in New York. I shared this good news with my best friend, who was thrilled for me and insisted on taking me out for a celebration dinner. We arranged to meet at a new French restaurant in Midtown. Just as my friend and I were raising our glasses to celebrate my new beginning, an unwelcome visitor suddenly appeared at our table. It was Marcus. He looked much more haggard, unshaven, with wrinkled clothes and sunken eyes. "Ivy," he called my name in a hoarse voice. I frowned and ignored him, continuing to cut my steak. "Sis, please come home," he said. With a thud, he dropped straight to his knees in front of me. Every eye in the restaurant immediately focused on our table. "What are you doing? Get up." I was startled by Marcus's behavior and instinctively reached to help him up. But he remained kneeling, refusing to rise. "Sis, if you do not agree to come home with me, I will stay on my knees." Red-rimmed eyes. Dad really is in the hospital. His blood pressure spiked and he is still lying in a hospital bed. Mum cries all day and her eyes are nearly blind from tears. Our home is in complete chaos. He spoke tearfully, as if I truly were the one to blame for everything. Customers around us began whispering and pointing. "How can this girl be so heartless? Look how pitiful her brother is, even kneeling down." Exactly. No matter what kind of disagreement they have, family is still family. These voices were not loud, but they reached my ears clearly. My friend could not stand it and stood up sharply to address the surrounding people. You know nothing about this situation. So stop making judgments. It looks terrible. Then she turned to Marcus and said coldly, if you have something to say, stand up and say it properly. Do not use emotional manipulation. It is disgraceful. Marcus remained unmoved, still kneeling and looking at me. Sis, I know I was wrong. Our whole family knows we were wrong. Please come back, we cannot survive without you. Without me, or without my money, I laughed coldly, piercing through his false performance. Marcus's expression immediately stiffened and his eyes shifted away. Both sis. Our family really cannot hold together anymore. Dad's hospitalization costs money and I need money to find work. After you stopped sending that monthly $5,000, we can barely make the mortgage payments. Finally, he told the truth. Without my financial support, their seemingly perfect, happy family immediately revealed its rotten foundation. It turned out that I had been the pillar holding up that family. A pillar they trampled on mercilessly while depending on completely. So you traveled all the way from Connecticut to Manhattan, knelt in front of me, and performed this public drama just to make me soft-hearted enough to go back and continue being your personal ATM. My voice held no warmth whatsoever. That is not it, sis. Marcus frantically defended himself. We really missed you. Mom said if you come back, everything in the house will be up to you. Whatever you want to eat, she will cook for you every day. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Did she say whether I would get to eat first, or continue eating your leftovers? Marcus's face turned bright red instantly, and he could not say a word. Looking at his embarrassment, I suddenly felt bored. Saying even one more word to such a person was a waste of life. Marcus, please leave. I picked up my wine glass and took a sip of red wine. There is nothing left for us to discuss. From the moment I left that house, we were no longer family. Sis, Marcus roared in frustration, trying to crawl forward. Security. I raised my hand and called for the restaurant security. This person is harassing me during my meal. I do not know him. Please escort him out. Security quickly arrived and took hold of Marcus's arms on both sides. Let go of me. I am her brother. You cannot treat me this way. Marcus struggled violently. I do not know this person. I looked at him and added coldly and clearly. Security hesitated no longer and forcibly dragged him outside. The restaurant returned to quiet, but all eyes remained on me, filled with curiosity, confusion, and condemnation. I calmly continued cutting the steak on my plate and said to my friend, "Ignore them. They are just spectators. Let us continue eating." My friend looked at me with concern in her eyes. "Ivy, are you really sure about this decision?" "Yes," I nodded, placing a piece of tender steak in my mouth and chewing carefully. Some wounds once inflicted can never heal. I ate that meal with unusual calm, though something inside felt hollow. That was the place where I had personally buried something called family love. I thought that driving Marcus away would end the matter. I did not expect my mother, Emily, to find me the next day. Somehow she had discovered my company address and burst into an important project meeting I was attending. She crashed into the conference room and, despite everyone's shock, threw herself at my legs and began wailing. "Ivy, my daughter, come home with your mother. Your father, he is dying." The entire conference room fell silent in stunned disbelief. My boss, Michael, frowned and indicated that the meeting should pause. Colleagues stared at me with complex expressions mixing sympathy, disdain, and morbid curiosity. My face burned with humiliation as my dignity was ground under her feet. "Please get up first, we can talk outside," I said through gritted teeth, trying to pry her off my legs. She clung to my legs desperately, refusing to let go. "I will not." If you do not agree to come home with me, I will die right here." She began rolling around on the polished floor, her wails echoing throughout the entire office building. My daughter, whom I raised with such hardship, now that she has made something of herself, she no longer acknowledges her parents. So heartless. Your father is in the hospital waiting for money to save his life. And here you are dressed up fancy living the good life. Every word nailed me to a pillar of shame in my workplace. My boss's expression grew increasingly displeased. "Ivy, please handle your family matters first." He waved dismissively, his tone clearly annoyed. I almost fled in disgrace, using all my strength to drag my mother out of the conference room. In the office break room, she remained relentless, spreading out her hands with a righteous attitude. "You must come home with me. Your father's surgery still needs $50,000. You have to give me the money today." I thought he was hospitalized for high blood pressure. How did it become surgery? I forced myself to remain calm. "The doctor said he has a tumor in his brain, malignant. He needs immediate surgery or his life will be in danger." She spoke with complete conviction, not even blinking. I looked at her and did not believe a single word. If my father were truly this seriously ill, how could she possibly have the energy and strength to travel from Connecticut to Manhattan and perform such a scene at my office? Her face showed no worry for her husband whatsoever, only greed and calculation regarding money. "Show me the hospital diagnosis," I said. Her eyes panicked momentarily, then became defiant again. "What is there to see? I am your mother. Would I lie to you? Hurry up and get the money, otherwise you want your father to die. You unfilial daughter." She was trying to put that unfilial hat on me again, one I no longer cared about. "Fine," I nodded and took out my phone. "I will call Uncle Mike right now and have him go to the hospital to check on Dad's actual condition." Uncle Mike lived near the local hospital in Connecticut, just 10 minutes away by car. My mother's face changed instantly when she heard this. "For such a small matter, why bother other people?" she shrieked, trying to grab my phone. I stepped back to avoid her. The call connected quickly. "Hello, Uncle Mike. Are you home? Could you please go to the hospital right now to check on my father? My mother says he is very sick, with a brain tumor requiring surgery." Silence for a few seconds on the other end. "Ivy, your father. He is fine, perfectly healthy at home watching television." Uncle Mike's voice was full of embarrassment. "He is not hospitalized. No brain tumor either." I asked expressionlessly. No, he is in great health. Just 2 days ago he came over and we shared a few beers together." Uncle Mike's words were like a resounding slap across my mother's face. I hung up and looked at her coldly. "Mom, is there anything else you would like to say?" My mother's face alternated between red and white, her lips trembling, unable to speak for a long time. With her lies exposed on the spot, all her pretenses crumbled, leaving only embarrassment and disgrace. I had no choice. She stammered. "For $50,000 you were willing to curse your own husband's life and death. Mom, you have truly opened my eyes." I looked at her as the last trace of warmth in my heart extinguished completely. "Please leave," I said with quiet finality. "Do not come looking for me again, whether at my office or where I live. I do not have a mother like you, and I do not have that kind of family." I turned and walked away without another glance. Any sound she made behind me could no longer stir even the slightest ripple in my heart. Because of my mother's disruption, my situation at the company became extremely awkward. Although my boss said nothing directly, the strange looks and whispered comments from colleagues made me deeply uncomfortable. I could not stay there any longer. Rather than wait to be marginalized, I proactively submitted my resignation. My boss made token efforts to retain me, but seeing my firm resolve, he readily agreed. On my last day, I carried my box of belongings out of the Manhattan office building where I had worked for 5 years. I looked back once at the glass facade gleaming in the sunlight, my heart filled with mixed emotions. There was no nostalgia, only relief. After becoming unemployed, I did not rush to find another job. I gave myself an extended vacation and used my savings to travel out west alone. At the foot of the snow-covered mountains in Colorado, gazing at the magnificent peaks of the Rocky Mountains, the tumultuous resentment in my heart grew calm. I visited Yellowstone, where the pristine natural beauty seemed capable of washing away all the dust from my soul. All the hurt, unwillingness, and hatred appeared so small in the face of such magnificent natural splendor. On the last day of my journey, as I prepared to return home, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from my cousin Sarah, the only relative who had not spoken harshly to me and the only one I had not blocked. "Ivy, where are you?" Her voice sounded very anxious. "I am in Colorado on vacation." "What is wrong?" "You need to come back quickly. Something happened to your brother." My heart skipped, but I was not surprised. What happened to him? He got in a fight while drinking and smashed someone's head with a bottle. Now he has been arrested. I was stunned. The other person was seriously injured with internal bleeding and is still in the ICU fighting for their life. The family demands a large sum in compensation, or they will make sure your brother goes to prison. Sarah's voice was tearful. Your Aunt Jennifer and your mother sold everything they could and borrowed from relatives and friends, barely scraping together $50,000. But the other family is demanding $150,000 total, leaving a gap of exactly $100,000. The other family has made it clear that if they do not get the money within 3 days, they absolutely will not sign any settlement agreement and will make sure your brother serves the maximum sentence. Ivy, only you can save him now. He is your only brother. Please think of something. I stood at the foot of those Colorado mountains, holding my phone as the bitter wind cut across my face. Marcus had gotten in a fight and seriously injured someone. They needed to pay $150,000 in compensation. They had managed to raise $50,000 and still needed $100,000 more. That number was so familiar. It was exactly the amount on the bank card I had reported stolen. I remained silent for a long time. Sarah kept urging me anxiously on the other end, her voice nearly breaking with tears. "Ivy, please say something. You would not really refuse to help, would you? He is your only brother. My only brother." Yes, he was my only brother. The brother who ate food I bought and wore shoes I purchased while treating me like an outsider and an ATM machine. The brother who could kneel before me begging for money one moment and curse me viciously the next. Now he had finally paid the price for his arrogance and needed money to fix his mess. They naturally thought of me again. "Sarah," I finally spoke, my voice terrifyingly calm. "Tell them I have no money. That is impossible. Did you not just buy an apartment in Brooklyn? You must have money." Sarah refused to believe it. "I bought property and paid the down payment which exhausted all my savings. Now I have to pay a high monthly mortgage. I am broke myself." I lied without changing expression. I had not touched that $100,000, but that was my emergency fund, not money to clean up their bottomless pit of problems. "You cannot be so heartless. That is your own brother." "Heartless?" I laughed, my laughter carried away by the wind across the vast landscape. "When they served me leftovers and threw me out like garbage, did they show me any consideration? When they lied about my father having a brain tumor just to trick me out of money, did they show me any consideration? Sarah, I am not being heartless. They never treated me like family." I hung up and turned off my phone, looking at the majestic snow-covered mountains before me. My heart felt completely clear. What happened to Marcus was none of my concern. He had chosen his own path and should take responsibility for his actions. I had my own life to live. After returning from Colorado, I began searching for a new job. With my years of work experience and credentials, I quickly found a position at another Wall Street investment bank. The salary was higher than before and the platform bigger. My life got completely back on track. I made my mortgage payments on time and gradually furnished my little home exactly as I liked it. I bought a coffee machine and made myself perfect lattes every morning. I filled that south-facing balcony with all kinds of flowers and plants. On weekends, I met with close friends, either hosting parties at home or walking along Long Island beaches. I never received another call from my hometown. It was as if those people and events belonged to a previous lifetime. Until 6 months later when I received another call from Sarah. This time her voice held no urgency, only exhaustion and resignation. "Ivy, your brother was sentenced." I was watering a newly bloomed rose, responding casually. "Aggravated assault. He got 5 years. 5 years, for someone in their early 20s, that was enough time to change an entire life." I felt no emotional response whatsoever. The other family ultimately refused to compromise. We never managed to raise that $100,000 gap. Sarah sighed deeply. After your mother heard the verdict, she suffered some kind of breakdown. She holds your brother's old clothes every day, sits by the front door muttering his name, and does not recognize anyone anymore. Your father has aged dramatically too. His hair has gone completely white. He mortgaged the house to the bank to pay back borrowed money and now lives in a tiny apartment. He says he has no face to hold his head up in front of the neighbors anymore. Sarah rambled on about the changes in that family. A family that had once appeared so perfect to outsiders had completely fallen apart in less than a year. The root of it all was nothing more than a hidden Christmas feast and a heart fed into deformity by favoritism. "Ivy, when you have time, please come back for a visit. Regardless of everything else, they are still your parents." Sarah finally could not help but try to persuade me. "No," I refused simply. "I no longer have a family." After hanging up, I walked to my balcony to water my flowers. A pot of my favorite jasmine had bloomed, its pure white petals releasing fragrance in the sunlight. I suddenly remembered that my mother used to love jasmine too. She said these flowers were clean, unlike human hearts which are so complicated. How prophetic those words turned out to be. I cut the most beautiful jasmine bloom and placed it in a delicate vase by my bedside. My phone screen lit up with a text from the bank, notifying me that this month's mortgage payment had been automatically deducted. Looking at that message, I could not help but smile. From now on, my life belonged only to me. Those who tried to bind me with blood relations would all become dust crushed beneath my feet. My future would be like the sunlight filling this room, warm and bright. No more leftovers, only the feast I created with my own hands. Another Christmas arrived. I did not go home. My new home was decorated with festive atmosphere, and I invited several of my closest friends in New York for a Christmas party. I cooked personally, preparing a full table of dishes. Herb roasted chicken, honey glazed carrots, garlic roasted shrimp, lobster bisque. All my specialties and all the dishes I had once wanted but could not have. My friends praised the food enthusiastically. "Ivy, your cooking is incredible. You should open a restaurant." "Absolutely, this tastes even better than authentic Michelin-starred restaurants." I laughed as I poured champagne for them. "If you love it, come often. My home always welcomes friends." We drank, chatted, and played games late into the night. After seeing off my friends, I curled up alone on my soft sofa, looking at the messy dishes on the table. The scene was so similar to that cold night 1 year ago, yet my mindset was completely different. I had been heartbroken. Now, I was deeply satisfied. I opened my phone and casually scrolled through Instagram. A new post caught my attention. It was from my cousin Sarah. The photo showed the entrance to a rundown apartment building. In front of the door, a white-haired, bent-over old man was slowly pushing a woman in a wheelchair. The woman had a vacant stare and drool at the corner of her mouth. It was my mother, Emily. The old man crushed by life was my father, Robert. The caption read, "Christmas wishes for family peace." My finger froze on the cold screen. In the photo, they looked aged, haggard, and pitiful, completely different from the shrewd, harsh parents I remembered. This was the ending they had chosen for themselves. To gain one worthless son, they personally destroyed their only daughter and ultimately destroyed themselves. Was it sad? Perhaps, but I felt no sympathy. People walk their chosen paths and must taste the bitter fruit they plant. I calmly scrolled past that Instagram post without liking or commenting, just like scrolling past a stranger's update. Then I opened my photo album and clicked on a screenshot I had saved a year ago. It was that Reddit post about the unwelcome guest and leftovers. Looking at that malicious top-rated suggestion, I smiled softly. I had ultimately not become that guest who was dismissed, taken advantage of, and then mocked. I overturned their table, ate the feast, and walked away without looking back. I deleted that screenshot. Everything from the past should be cleared away. Outside my window, Christmas bells rang cheerfully. In the distant sky, brilliant fireworks bloomed one after another. I walked to the window and watched the dazzling display across the city. A new year was about to begin, a brand new year belonging to me, Ivy Park.